miracle ordained by heaven.
This boy is our king.
Well, by Jove.
What's the lad's name?
What? Oh, I mean Arthur.
Hail, King Arthur!
Hail, King Arthur!
What's up, guys? The JRPG King with a video response to November Hotel called Seriously, What Happened to Xbox and PlayStation? And he basically highlights a lot of problems with what's going on with the gaming industry, especially when it comes to Microsoft and Sony, because it seems like a lot of them just don't want to compete or even be innovative. Like, we're seeing Sony with these strange moves with, charging $700 with the PS5 Pro and doing things like screwing customers over with PlayStation stars and closing Japan studios. The list goes on. And both of these companies are not doing anything with their old IPs. Like, they're just sitting on them and just basically doing nothing. So I will play the video and I will respond to it the best I can. Enjoy, guys.
Great in 2024. We've talked about this at length. Big budget games are not meeting expectations. Live service slop has been failing, rightfully so. Layoffs are happening all over the place. And despite a few standout successes in the AA indie and, of course, From Software world, AAA has been having another rough year. And that seems to be the trend these days for almost all AAA companies. But probably in the worst shape of all is Xbox. My concerns around Xbox and its future have grown exponentially over the last few years. Phil Spencer has turned out to be one of the biggest disappointments across the entire gaming industry. He's been head of Xbox for 10 years now and has absolutely nothing to show for it. He started off saying the right things in the beginning and always gave the fans some kind of hope with promises of doing right by gamers. And then he led the charge on acquisitions like Activision Blizzard and ZeniMax Bethesda, which sounded promising but have ultimately been huge disasters. Xbox is sitting on some of the greatest IPs. They've acquired some of the largest studios. But despite the billions they've spent on those IPs and those studios, they've done nothing with them. And the only thing left saving Xbox at this point is Game Pass, which already is starting to feel less and less worth it as time goes on. So I just gotta ask, what the hell happened to Xbox? Now first we need to talk about Sony. So console war fanboying is pathetic and cringe behavior, but the console war itself is still a very relevant and real thing that dictates the state of the industry. Competition always has driven the creation of good products. But unfortunately, there just isn't any real competition happening these days.
That's one of the major problems with the gaming industry. Because there's no competition, these companies create a monopoly. And we already know how bad monopolies are. I don't agree with any monopoly. I don't agree with anime monopolies. I don't agree with certain food chains having monopolies. I don't agree with monopolies in general because it ultimately screws over the customers, us, basically. And this is why I really want a gaming crash so bad right now. I want it to happen. Yes, it is going to affect the AA and indie studios, but this has to happen. We can't keep going on in this gaming industry where we just get lack of innovation or risks anymore, or fucking laziness. Because that's what's going on with the gaming industry. It just feels like this whole ninth generation of console gaming is such a big scam right now. And people are just like, what is the point in owning and playing these consoles? The PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles. What's the justification to play these? Everybody is asking this more and more, I see, on social media now.
Undeniably, Sony is winning the console war. They don't even need to compete with Xbox because they're outselling consoles 3-1, and in turn, Sony has gotten extremely cocky. It's why they know they're able to sell the PS5 Pro for $700. It's why they're comfortable re-releasing the same game over and over again with 5% better graphics each time. And if Xbox could actually produce some incredible first-party games, maybe Sony would be having to try and compete in some way. But they don't. So while Sony sucks because of how they've been acting lately with all the remasters, remakes, and lack of games, a lot of the fault lays at Xbox because they're Sony's primary competition that just isn't even putting up a fight. Sony can do whatever they want because Xbox is constantly shitting the bed. It wasn't always this way. Xbox used to rule the gaming industry.
What he is saying is absolutely correct. We're getting so many last-gen remasters and remakes. Like, this is ridiculous. This is basically PS4 generation with so many remasters and remakes. Like, if we want to go back in time and do, like, a remake from PS1 and PS2, that's fine. Those generation of games need to have remasters and a possible remake. But if we're getting Horizon Zero Dawn and Until Dawn remake, like, that's bad. Because it's just cash cowing and just wanting money, and because of that, you know, we're not going to get new IPs. What new IP is there exclusive for Microsoft and Sony that wants me to go, hey, let's go buy this console? It doesn't exist. It really doesn't exist. And the fact that they have the utter gall to charge $70 and no price cut to either of these consoles, it's insane to me. And with the Xbox 360, the one thing I will have to give Microsoft props to, even though they shouldn't have rushed it because of the Red Ring of Death issue, the 360 was successful. I liked my 360 when it actually worked. I loved getting achievements a lot. And if you're wondering if I got 100% on all the games for achievements, no, because on Xbox, you don't really need to do that. You just need to have a certain amount of gamer score. And the primary reason I switched to PS3 because the failure rate was so bad. And Microsoft didn't address it until, like, I think 2 or 3 years down the line, they finally addressed the Red Ring of Death. But at that point, it was too late for me. I switched over to PlayStation. But now I'm just seeing all this stuff about people being worried about ownership of games with digital distribution, and just so many people in the comment section, and there's just many videos saying, what's the point in owning these new consoles? What's the point of PS5? What's the point of Xbox? There really is not that much reasons to own these brand new consoles. I'm still stuck on PS4. I'm enjoying myself. I'm playing Persona 3 on the PS4. I don't see the reason to get a PS5. Does anyone else? I don't think so.
For the most part, during that console generation, Xbox absolutely dominated with incredible first-party titles and outsold and outperformed the PS3 for a majority of that console generation. Now, if we compare that to the original Xbox, which sold 24 million units, versus the PlayStation 2, which sold 150 million units, and of course looking at the state of the industry today where PlayStation is outselling Xbox, if we look back now with all this information, it's wild to see how short-lived Xbox's reign over PlayStation really was. It only lasted really 5 or 6 years. And with the 360, Xbox could have failed with the Red Ring of Death issue that plagued millions of systems, but they were on top of repairs which cost them a fortune, but it kept them afloat for the first few years of the 360's generation and helped them maintain the market share for a while. And they just stayed consistent during this generation, putting out great games and great services. However, with the Xbox One, the writing was on the wall from the moment it was revealed. The 2013 E3 presentation was incredibly out of touch with gamers and what they wanted from a console. It was really the beginning of the end for Xbox, but it didn't have to be. Yeah, they screwed themselves pretty bad with the Xbox One's initial release, but it's the decisions that followed that would keep them behind indefinitely in the console war. Xbox basically just threw their hands up and said, yep, we can't compete with Sony or Nintendo at the console level anymore, so they started to move away from focusing on hardware. Instead, their new focus would be trying to capitalize on digital services like Game Pass and Xbox Game Cloud. Initially, it seemed like they wanted to sell consoles to get people hooked on Game Pass, and that would be their new primary source of revenue. That's why they were selling consoles at a loss initially, but the console sales just weren't doing good enough, so this is why in 2019 they brought Game Pass to PC as well, so they could cash in on some more subscription revenue without needing to sell any hardware. And shortly after this is when Xbox began their big acquisition plans. It seemed like their goal was to use these acquisitions to boost their console exclusives. Securing Bethesda gives them Fallout and The Elder Scrolls right off the bat, two of the most popular franchises in gaming, and not to mention all the other great IPs that fall under the Bethesda umbrella. With Activision, it was all about Call of Duty. Yeah, they owned Diablo, WoW, and Overwatch, but COD was really the big one. But with COD, they couldn't really make it exclusive. They would be leaving way too much money on the table if they decided to actually do that. So COD stayed multi-platform, and now Microsoft reaps the benefits of that microtransaction slop fest. And on top of the major acquisitions, Microsoft has acquired so many other great studios, but for some reason they just aren't developing games with them. They're letting some of their best IPs sit dormant, and it's honestly getting a bit ridiculous at this point. Xbox could be competing, even if it's just in the making games department, but they aren't even doing that. And it's not like Sony is doing anything either. They've been memed on since 2020 about how the PS5 has no games. Their decision making isn't on point either, trying to bank on Concord, canceling a bunch of games, purchasing Bungie Studios, which is already looking like a failed investment. So we have two opposing consoles from Sony and Microsoft, and neither of them are doing anything for the industry right now. They're just sitting on some of the best IPs in the world. They have more than enough money to fund the various studios' games, but they just aren't doing anything. Well, I guess they actually are both introducing thousands of layoffs, so there's that. Sony has closed down 4 studios in 4 years, including Japan Studio, one of the most iconic and important studios to Sony's history. Microsoft has shut down Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks, one of which made a bit of sense with the failure of Redfall, but Tango Gameworks made one of the highest rated games with Hi-Fi Rush in recent memory, and Microsoft's gaming division has cut over 2,500 jobs since 2023.
I feel really bad for all the employers that got laid off. We're seeing this so much in this current year right now. I think it should concern people, because if there's so many employees being let go, then that means, these companies have to go on a tighter budget. Gaming right now, I hate to say it, the landscape is really bad when it comes to AAA industry and Microsoft and Sony. This is why I really want a gaming crash to happen. Just let it happen already. I want this to go back to what it used to be, playing games and have fun. I want these corporations to stop thinking about their bottom line and just give the gamers what they want, because don't customers come first? Isn't that supposed to what matters first and then profit later? Like, you can't keep running this business model where you only look at the business first. That is complete bullshit if you go with that line of thinking. It's going to get you nowhere, in my honest opinion. To M64 Bros, thank you for giving me this video with smiling friends. It's really, really hilarious. So this is Sony and Microsoft in the gaming industry with AAA in a nutshell. And I thought this was hilarious because I'm going to include this shit. So take a look at this.
Ah, Gwimbly! Nice to see you after all these years. I see your solo career is going successfully. I'm afraid to say it's not 1998 anymore. Things have changed since you decided to leave. These days it's not about collecting cans of cream corn and childish platforming. Now it's all DLC and microtransactions and you. Do you want a chicken nugget? Wrong! We have a new and improved breadwinner. Introducing Troglor! With over 1 quadrillion polygons, he is the new icon of modern gaming. He's quick, he's smart. Oh, hey, yeah, no, don't shoot that, please. Just no firing inside. I love it, personally. We really just can't do it indoors. There's other office buildings below us.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, that was us, yeah. No, everything's fine. It was just an accident. It was Troglor, yeah. I've sorted it out. Yeah, no, it won't happen again. I suppose Gwimbly can be a skin in the new Troglor game, but only if you kiss my nugget.
Oh, come on, let's go. We can crowdfund your own Gwimbly game.
Troglor, I can't allow them to make an independent Gwimbly game. It's my IP to sit on and do nothing with. We must find them and destroy them.
Yes, Master.
Where are you? What did you call me? Troglor, shoot him now!
But you said I cannot shoot inside, Master.
What? Shoot! Do it now, you idiot!